what a weekend we just saw in the Premier League. Because this weekend we saw carnage after carnage after carnage, as well as a continuation of the hate watch for Tottenham as they fight in the relegation battle, and lots of storylines, let's just say, to cover in another London derby. But let's get started with Wolves against Villa. Just a few short weeks ago, Wolves were looking like a lock for the UCL. They were looking like a lock for the top three, to be completely honest. But now they have slipped behind Man United, who are on red-hot form. They are Liverpool, who are also on much better form than them, are closing in on them. And Chelsea and Brentford are also not too far behind. So if I'm Villa, you have gone all of a sudden from, at least according to some people, being in a title race to being in now severe danger of dropping out of the UCL spots for the second year in a row. And coming into this match, what I thought was going to happen was Villa were going to have one of their classic one-goal victories. They don't control the game. They don't create too many chances, but they just take advantage of one or two they get, and it's enough to win the match. And in the first half, that's kind of what it looked like was going to happen, because nothing happens for either side. If anything, Villa are maybe slightly better, and what you sort of expect, based on how Villa have played recently, it's Unai Emery is going to make some tactical adjustments. Maybe they play a little bit more direct, or they do a little tweak here and there, and just like that, they're able to walk away with a one-goal margin victory. But instead, it was Wolves who tactically adjusted in the second half. It was Wolves who committed to their low block, forcing Villa to play in possession, which is not the style of football Villa wants to play with all of those midfield injuries right now. And it actually ended up leading to Wolves being the one who got a few more opportunities and took advantage of them. Gomez and Gomez, the two scorers for Wolves. Ironically, only two of the four players named Gomez on this Wolves squad. And for Villa, all I can say is it's dire, because the one thing y'all had going for yourselves was this Unai Emery black magic, making sure you guys somehow could always win every match by one goal. If that's gone, not only is that gone, if that's gone against the worst team in the league, you guys are in severe jeopardy. That being said, we're going to move on now to Bournemouth against Sunderland. In this match, also some worrying signs, because Bournemouth, not really talked about as much, but they are in some respects kind of in a European battle. They're not too far off. They're only 4 points off of Brentford, for example, and very likely, for example, 7th could be enough to make at least the Conference League. And I feel like this is one of those matches that Bournemouth absolutely has to win, because coming to this match, first off, they're at home. Sunderland have no Brian Brobby. They have no Reynoldo, and they have no Mukiele. So, complete must win. This is the sort of match where Bournemouth should take advantage of their overwhelming attack and just play direct football at Sunderland. That's not what ends up happening at all. Sunderland actually get the opener through Mayenda scoring off a missed parry from Petrovic. And the thing is, Petrovic has been a pretty terrible goalkeeper for this entire season, so that's to be expected. Nothing too shocking there. I did predict Sunderland to score a goal after all. But tell me how, with all of the attacks Bournemouth had, with all of the space that Sunderland was gifting them on the wings, that they could not get more than one goal in this match. Now, part of the problem, I believe, is Ryan not nearly playing directly enough. I think if he just really went at the Sunderland defense the way that he literally did for the last few matches leading up to this point, he could have done a lot more. For some reason, Amin Adli, I think, is the perfect winger that you would like to play for a game like this, where again, with all of those fullback injuries for Sunderland, that's what you take advantage of. So tell me why he doesn't play until the 81st minute when the game is basically over already. A lot of very questionable decisions, I think, for Bournemouth, just on a tactical level here. And it's very discouraging for them because, again, if they win this match, they're just 2 points away from Brentford, right? Now, of course, it's still possible that they could come back and finish top 7, but this not taking advantage of a match like this is very, it's just a severe missed opportunity for them. I will give some credit to, I guess, Evan Nielsen. He took advantage of an opportunity coming on in the second half, but as well, like, Eli Krupi, for example, should have scored. A lot of these players, on the offense especially, were missing chances. And yeah, just very discouraging for Bournemouth, because I think having a fairly consistent attack for the midway point of the season forward was what gave me some confidence in Bournemouth. But the reason I think they had a chance of making it into a European spot Now it's 2 games in a row where the attack just does not really show up at all for Bournemouth, so it's very concerning for them. Sunderland, of course, I think should just be happy that they got a point in this match because Bournemouth, respectfully, with all the injuries and at home, Bournemouth are just the better team. All right, next up, absolute carnage here. Absolute carnage. Burnley against Brentford. Now, in the first half, this game was basically going exactly as I said it would. I said Brentford is going to play through set pieces and through counterattacks and just through a dominance in the midfield because they have a much better midfield than Burnley. And lo and behold, Brentford's first goal, a corner. Brentford's second goal, a beautiful pass from Mikkel Damsgaard, which cuts through the entire Burnley midfield. And Brentford's third goal, another corner. So basically the game has been going exactly as I thought it would. And it is worth noting, not only does Brentford do this in the first 35 minutes, they do so without conceding so much as an attack, really, to Burnley. Burnley did absolutely nothing in this first phase of the game. But what happens next is something I cannot ignore anymore. You know, the first time when Burnley turned up all of a sudden randomly against Palace, I thought it was a fluke. When they turned up after Chelsea's red card against Chelsea, the second time, I thought that was a coincidence. Now, there is something here. There is clearly an ability for Burnley to step up in random increments of the game and just somehow take advantage and go absolutely insane. First off, I mean, where was this for the entire rest of the season? Because if Burnley were playing like this all season, they would maybe have a chance of not getting relegated. I guess, okay, technically they do still have a chance, but it's an 8-point gap on Forest with 10 games left. It's going to be very tough. But also, this scoreline, if anything, is a little bit deceiving, because it's not just that Burnley have a sudden burst and then completely die off. They are competing with Brentford for the entire rest of the game. And not only are they competing with Brentford, they actually score 2 more goals, which are both called offside. One for a handball, one for just being offside. And given how consistent Brentford's midfield is against these lower table sides, for me, this was very surprising. Mikkel Damsgaard obviously has an amazing game. Igor Thiago, we know how much of a threat he can be. And the fact that Burnley still managed to almost come back here, I think we cannot write off this team for future match weeks. And I will pay them a lot more respect now, moving forward. All right, next up, Absolute Carnage Part 2, Liverpool against West Ham. Technically, I was correct. Technically, I did say Liverpool were going to have a dominant performance and win. I did not expect them to have 7 goals in this match. And not only 7 goals, but the majority of them from set pieces. Liverpool, their first 3 goals, because they're leading 3-0 at halftime, are all from set pieces. And it had me thinking, are Liverpool the new corner FC? Are Liverpool the new set piece FC? Obviously, that ends up to not be the case, but more on that later. In this first half, sorry, what's going on here? Okay, in this first half, Liverpool are not necessarily, they're not playing too well, I would say, but they take advantage of the opportunities they get, and it's too far gone for West Ham. I will say, like, offensively, very solid. We should also give a lot of respect to the defense. Not only because Virgil van Dijk scores a header, but more importantly, I do have to give credit where credit is due. Liverpool's backline has been a major weakness all season, but their center backs, Virgil van Dijk and Ibrahim Konate, both of them, especially Konate, in recent weeks, have gotten a lot better. They have become a lot more stable. And funnily enough, that first goal that West Ham gets back, where a ball is played in behind for Thomas Soucek, it is Ryan Gravenberch, of all people, who is watching Soucek. He yells at the back line to remind them to keep their eye on Soucek and make sure he doesn't get a run in behind. And it ends up being Gravenberch himself that is not watching Thomas Soucek and letting him get a run in behind for that first goal back for West Ham. So for once, it's actually not the center backs' fault that Liverpool are leaking goals. For once, it's actually the midfield, which is, more of a reversion to how Liverpool were playing at the start of the season. West Ham also get another goal back, but too far gone. Liverpool, unsurprising that they just completely dominated this match. A few things of note as well. I thought that Frimpong was going to start this match now that he's back. He didn't start, but he did come on. And I think that does mean that moving forward, barring, some right back curse hitting Liverpool once again, we should expect Dominic Szoboszlai to go back to the midfield. And that was part of the reason why I predicted Liverpool to do so well in this match. West Ham's midfield has actually been quite solid recently, Thomas Souček and especially Matheus Fernandes. But I do think that with Szoboszlai back, it is a little bit unrealistic to expect West Ham to do too much in this match. And then one last thing I will mention, Hugo Ekitike doesn't score against the good teams, always runs up his goal tally against these mid-table to lower mid-table sides. So unsurprising that he grabs a brace for himself. All right, next up, Newcastle against Everton. Man, I said that this is the match that Newcastle has to win in order to flip their season around and make their way back to potentially a European spot. And they absolutely did not do that at all. They are now, they're 7 points off of Brentford, 9 points off of Chelsea. With only 10 games left, I think it's too far gone at this point. And what I believed was that with Newcastle getting some of their players back from injury, I thought Lewis Miley was actually going to be back. Apparently he's not. I thought it was going to be something like Tonali, Miley, and Joelinton. That is not what ended up happening at all. And it led to Everton being the ones who were in control of the midfield rather than Newcastle. The inversion of what I expected. One thing I have said recently about Everton as well is that with Jared Branthwaite back after his long-term injury, Everton are going to be a lot more secure, aerially speaking, on defense. Now, what I did not anticipate was that not only were Everton going to be more solid aerially on the defense, they were going to be more solid aerially on the offense, as it is Jared Branthwaite who scores an absolute diabolical bullet header from a corner, from an insane angle, to be quite honest, to open up the scoring for Everton. And in this scoreline, one might think, based on this attack momentum graph, that it is Newcastle who are unlucky to be losing this match. In fact, this scoreline flatters Newcastle, because both of these goals are deflections, and Everton just smacks them, just pats them on the head as soon as Newcastle scores. Jacob Ramsey scores in the 32nd minute, Beto response within 2 minutes. Jacob Murphy goal in the 82nd, Tierno O'Berry response within the next minute. So, Newcastle were thoroughly dominated, just to be absolutely clear. And also, if anything, Everton scored more than 3 goals, if it weren't for Beto being so shit. Yes, he does have an 8.3 rating, but remember, this man misses a one-on-one opportunity against Nick Pope, which could have made this scoreline even uglier for Newcastle. But yeah, that being said, I feel like the window for Newcastle to make their way back into Europe next season is basically closed. Unless they, by some miracle, are able to win the Champions League, which, let's be honest, very, very tough ask. I think their season is kind of cooked at this point. And as well for Everton, good win for them. I think Europe is maybe a little bit unrealistic for Everton this year, although they are only 3 points behind Brentford. But, they played exactly the style they wanted to. They were physical, they controlled the midfield, or not controlled, but they hampered Newcastle in the midfield through physicality. And again, they didn't really give away too many, at least, great chances. So yeah, good game for Everton, fully deserved win. All right, next up, Leeds against Manchester City. And what I will say, I did say City was going to win this 2-1. It's 1-0. It's not exactly what I said was going to happen, but I think I deserve a little bit of credit. Because one thing I said, you can roll back the tapes, one thing I said is if Manchester City are leading by a 1-goal margin at halftime, the halftime score will be the full-time score. And that's exactly what happens. Now, one other thing I have to mention is, I don't know what's going on with Manchester City right now, but I feel like there is a real curse going on with Donnarumma. Because for some reason in recent matches, it doesn't matter how many chances the other teams get, they just somehow can't score. It's not even that Donnarumma is making these incredible saves, which he actually does do to some extent. He has throughout the entire season. A big part of it as well is other teams, as soon as they play City, completely forget how to finish. Exhibit 1, Dominic Calvert-Lewin. He gets, I think in the 4th minute, a great one-on-one opportunity against Donnarumma. And you totally expect him to score this, because Dominic Calvert-Lewin is a big game player. He scored against Chelsea, I believe. I think he scored against Liverpool. He even scored against City the last time that Leeds played Manchester City. But lo and behold, this time, it gets saved by Donnarumma. He gets a few more chances, a few chances where he really should shoot it, but he doesn't. One half chance where he spins past the City defender and barely misses the target. Somehow he doesn't score. Then Brendan Aronson has a very good game, but he also misses a one-on-one opportunity against Donnarumma, and he also is somehow unable to score. So for the first, let's say, 30 minutes, thereabouts, Leeds is clearly the better team. I am shocked that they don't have at least one goal, if not 2 or 3, by the time we're at halftime. But, as this saying goes, if you do not take advantage of your chances, your opponent will. And all it takes is one beautiful play in behind by Ryan Cherky, who has been a great playmaker for Man City this season. Great ball in behind, found by Ryan Aït-Nouri, Semenyo with another run in behind to go past the entire Leeds backline. And, with such a beautiful play from City, there is nothing you can do to stop that goal. And like I said, once City has the 1-goal advantage in the second half, often they just sit it out, and Leeds kind of get back to the game a little bit, but City are able to just neutralize the game, be controlled, and once it's 1-0 in City's favor at halftime, you kind of know that it's sort of over for Leeds. All right, so those are the Saturday games. My prediction-wise, I did okay on these. These were not amazing, but where I cooked were the Sunday matches. Exhibit A. Brighton against Forest. I said Brighton 1-0, it was Brighton 2-1. But we're going to talk about why I said 1-0 in a little bit. So, one thing you need to know about Brighton, first off, is they are a streaky team, right? For a while at the start of this year, they were just unable to score, unable to win games, and it got really, really bad for Brighton, to the point where they were somewhat getting close to not being in the relegation race, but being dragged sort of downward to the lower mid-table. I mean, you can see here, Palace between 14th and 11th is only 2 points, right? But then all of a sudden, they win one game against Brentford, and all of a sudden they're back. And it's funny because it's not that Brighton did some crazy innovation, reinvented their tactics, and became good again. No, they just reverted back to start of the season form. Because who was their most consistent player at the start of the season cooking for Brighton? It was Danny Welbeck. And in this little mini run that Brighton have had now with these 2 straight wins, who scored in both matches? Danny Welbeck. Funnily enough, Kyle Matoma also gets a one-on-one chance. He should score, but he doesn't. So I guess some things stay the same for this Brighton side. But to give the team credit, once Welbeck scores the second goal, once it's 2-1, Brighton control the entire rest of the game. Forest never really get back into it. A little bit at the end, kind of. They get a few half chances, but nothing all too spectacular. So for Brighton, credit where credit is due, fairly deserved victory, even though they arguably should have scored a few more goals. And for Forest, I mean, I said this in the match preview. If Sean Dyche were still the manager for Forest, this would be a perfect match for him, because he could counterattack in transition. That is where Brighton is the weakest, and try to score off of that. But instead, as you know, they sack Sean Dyche, and they have Vitor Pereira now. And playing offensive football with the quality that Nottingham have, the lack thereof, I should say, quality that they have against Brighton, especially at Brighton's home stadium, absolute recipe for disaster. So, Forest are lucky. West Ham are playing Liverpool this match week, so they weren't able to get any points. But again, if I'm a Nottingham fan, I'm sweating, man. I am absolutely sweating. Now, you may have noticed, I did not mention these first 2 goals. The reason I did not mention them until just now is because Diogo Gomez scores an absolute screamer. Outside of the box, insane angle, half volley, arguably should have been saved screamer. Morgan Gibbs-White responds with a screamer of his own. So all I'm saying is I cannot predict when these teams score random screamers out of nowhere, alright? So functionally this game was a 1-0 win. I know, yes, the scoreline says 2-1, but give me some credit, man. I basically predicted exactly how this game was going to unfold. So, 2-1, this is what I was saying at the beginning of this match. But if that was not impressive enough for you, if you are unconvinced of my abilities, for Fulham against Tottenham. Because I said, in that last episode, you must have the bravery to do what? To predict Fulham to get a 2-1 victory against Tottenham. And who did I say were going to be the ones cooking for Fulham? Alex Iwobi and Harry Wilson, I said, were going to terrorize Tottenham's high-line fullbacks. Listen, if you're still watching here, I think that's worth a like and subscribe, right? I mean, if you just watch the latest video, hypothetically speaking, if you needed to, for whatever reason, know exactly what's going to happen in this match, I fed the information to you for free. So all I'm asking in return is, if you're still here, help us out a little bit. That being said, I mean, I feel like this intro I just gave gives a pretty good representation of what happened in this match. Not only does Fulham win, they absolutely deserve the victory. And the 2 goals come just as you would expect. It is Tottenham giving worlds of space to one of Fulham's wingers, Oscar Bob. He easily, without any pressure being applied on him, gets a dinkle pass into Harry Wilson. And Harry Wilson, with the form he's been on for the last few months, is not going to miss that opportunity. But the second goal, it is Harry Wilson and Alex Iwobi, 1-2 play, and Alex Iwobi scores one of the most beautiful, scintillating, low cross goals, bangers, golossos the Premier League has seen this season. And it's not Fulham scores 2 goals, they park the bus. In the second half, Fulham keep attacking Tottenham. Emile Smith-Rowe has not one, but 2 one-on-one opportunities against Vicario that he somehow screws up. So it should really be 4-1. And Tottenham with their one opportunity, the one half-decent chance they got all game, it is none other but Richarlison who scores it. Richarlison, of course, is the most consistent player in the Premier League when it comes to scoring consolation goals that do not matter. So it is completely unsurprising to me that he is the one who gets that 1 goal back. So, just to be clear, completely deserved Fulham victory. This scoreline is, if anything, flattering for Tottenham. And it's yet again, I called it on the money here. Okay, so that's 2 of the 4 games this Sunday. Game number 3, Manchester United against Crystal Palace. I said United were going to win this game 2-0. In fairness to myself, if I just go to the statistics, Palace created absolute jack shit. And that 1 goal they scored was off of a banging header from Maxence Lacroix. Again, I cannot predict bangers like that to happen. There's nothing I can do about that, right? And as you can see, I mean, if we're talking about the chances, it is all Manchester United. Now, to give some credit to Palace, that first goal happens before United have really fell into this game at all. And Palace are actually able to stifle United from getting into this game for quite a while. Adam Wharton, the orchestrator of Palace's midfield, do not be fooled by that 6.3 rating. He was very good. He, for the first half, was cooking the entire Manchester United midfield all on his own. But what I said is Palace are a team that do not have the depth or the stamina to play multiple matches in a week. And, they played the Conference League midweek matchup. And so the longer this game goes, the more and more United are going to go and attack and just go at them. And for the first half, I'm not sure what's just happened, by the way. All right, we're back. In that first half, Michael Carrick, I'm a little bit worried about him because this is sort of similar to that one West Ham match where, yes, United are able to get the equalizer, they're able to get a result. They're somewhat struggling to break down the low block. But then in that second half, I don't know what Michael Carrick did. I don't know if the mandate of heaven was just bestowed on him. But from the second half onward, it was all Manchester United. They were dominating Palace for the first part of the second half, and that red card is no coincidence that Palace eventually gets. Absolutely should be a red. I don't want to hear any arguments against that. The one thing that's maybe questionable was whether or not it was inside the box, but I think just the fact that Palace had to get a red card just to stop a United attack, I think tells you what you need to know about how this match was going in the second half. And then, of course, Bruno Fernandes is not going to miss a penalty. And none other than Benjamin Šeško scores now for the 4th straight game, I believe, for Manchester United, and thereby probably cementing his starting 11 spot for the foreseeable future. This time, against a Palace side that is usually known for being strong aerially, although, the fact that a certain player got a red card maybe had something to do with it. Benjamin Šeško absolutely just bullies Palace's defenders in the air for that second goal, rises above, and as the match continues, United keep hounding at them more and more. In fact, yeah, I mean, I think Dean Henderson actually should deserve some credit because if he didn't make some big saves later on into this match, could have been 3 or 4-1, and it is a fully deserved Manchester United win. They don't play great in the first half, but just like last week, once they come into the game, they're not pulling the brakes. This is not the United of old who they go a goal up, they're 2 goals up in like the 70th minute and they choke. No. This United side, once they have the advantage against you, once they're up against you, it may be finished. And I think this game is just an excellent indicator of that. Finally, I go 4 for 4 because I said that when it comes to London derbies, form does not matter, and therefore Arsenal is going to get the win. There you go. I said 3-1, it's 2-1. I don't think that's too bad for me. But what I did not expect, although I said that corners was going to be an X factor for Arsenal, I did not expect every goal in this match to be a corner, and not only every goal in this match to be from a corner, but technically every goal to be a corner scored by Arsenal. Because as you can see, it is a Piero Hincapié own goal that gets Chelsea their equalizer. Now, lots to say about this match. Obviously, Man City as well, I don't think we're playing especially well in that win against Leeds. But once you're at this point in the season, all that matters is you getting the 3 points. And I could say a very similar thing about Arsenal in this match. They were not in control the whole time. They didn't play amazing. But again, at the end of the day, if you get the 3 points, at this stage in the season, that is all that matters. Now, first off, let's talk a little bit about Chelsea. I said one of the big weaknesses of Chelsea is that, other than João Pedro being good, who I think deserves much better than a 6.3 rating, the rest of the attack is shit right now. There was one guy in the comments of the last video who said, Palmer cannot do shit in the Premier League right now. And he was absolutely right, because Cole Palmer was once again stinking it up. Enzo Fernandez, once again missing in action. Pedro Neto had an average Pedro Neto game, and then made an absolutely boneheaded tackle to get himself sent off, basically ending the match for Chelsea. Give this guy João Pedro some help, man. This man is doing a colossal job for Chelsea right now, and somebody needs to step up. I don't care who it is. Fucking play Steve Yao at this point. I mean, you kind of have to, I think, with Pedro Neto out for red card. Maybe they'll play Palmer on the right instead, but something has to change. Now, the first goal that Chelsea get, obviously from a corner, in the prelude to that, it's a corner that leads to the corner, and arguably Chelsea should have had a penalty in that first corner. But, given that the corner coming from that corner, got a lot of corners in this match, does result in a Chelsea goal. I'm not going to make too much of a big deal out of it. Didn't really affect, obviously, the final scoreline. And while the attack was shit for Chelsea, I do actually have to give some credit to some other players. Caicedo was decent, but Reece James in particular was very solid. He was the one. I mean, he is Chelsea's designated corner taker, so he deserves some credit for, the goal and whatnot. But also, in the second half, the first half, it's like kind of a somewhat dead match. In the second half, Chelsea are bombing. It looks like Chelsea, if anyone, are the team that is going to break the deadlock. And it is Reece James slinging crosses, advanced passes, starting wave after wave of attack for Chelsea. And all I have to say is, if Chelsea had better attackers, I think they won this game. I really do. And part of the problem as well is, to speak about Arsenal, Declan Rice was good. The rest of the midfield did absolutely nothing. So, it was not a great game for Arsenal, as I said, and I think it was very winnable for Chelsea. This red card, by the way, for Chelsea, I think that's like their 7th in the season. So, severe discipline issues. The team, I get like the youth strategy. If you sign 5 billion youth players, like some of them are going to be good, just by the law of statistics. But you need some experience in this roster as well. Like, come on, guys. Who's your oldest player? Like, fucking, I don't know, Reece James, what is Caicedo? Like, what are we doing? Maybe CoDaKrew, he's absent as well. So, yeah, anyways, not a great performance whatsoever for Chelsea. And, again, for Arsenal, yes, they don't play very well, but I have to revert back to what I said before. 3 points at this point in the season, 3 points is 3 points. You take the win, and you don't complain. So, yeah, that's it for this week. I tried to be as rapid fire as I could. Let me just take a look at the time. 30 minutes. Okay. it's whatever. But anyways, this video coming out today. In 2 days is the next match week. So tomorrow you're going to see another episode, which is our predictions for next week. So stay tuned. Like and subscribe once again. To stay in the loop. And see ya.